What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, the King of Rio, he's not done yet. He strikes again, defeating number 4 Rob Font, a guy who many said was probably the best boxer in the division, if not one of the best in the entire sport. Really fun fight. Font had a great first round, but the experience and depth of skill really took over for Jose as the fight went on.
Yeah, and this was a great main event for a great free card. I mean, a lot of these fights had either really awesome finishes or they were knockdown, drag-out wars all the way through to the final bell. But this main event was literally probably the fight of the night, right? I feel like they must have gotten the bonuses on that. Rob Font looked like $1 million coming out there. I mean, he might be the fastest bantamweight in the entire UFC. The speed of which he was throwing and the volume of which he was throwing in the first round was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, in the early predictions of this fight, I said if there's going to be a finish, it's going to come from Aldo. And then I was quickly realizing that I might have been way off on that. And Rob Font was looking early for a knockout, and I think he almost had it a couple of times.
He did. I mean, that first round did not look good for Jose Aldo, the early parts of that first round. But then he steals the round on 2 judges' scorecards. So the final was 50-45 on 2 judges' scorecards, 49-46 on the other, meaning that Jose stole that first round by capturing that knockout at the end there. I mean, I literally think Rob Font won 4 minutes and 45 seconds of that first round. And then Jose pulls this incredible straight 1-2 down the pipe, sitting Rob Font down, and then almost finishing the fight himself. This was really, there was a lot of back and forth. 50-45 is not a representation of how close this fight actually was. I could see a few of those rounds being scored one way or the other. Ultimately, I believe the judges got it right in the fact that Jose was the victor. But Rob Font certainly had his moments and certainly has some good things to take away from this fight, as well as a few to work on. Yeah,
he definitely does. And I think that it looked like he was going to gas out after that first round. And that dropping, by the way, at the very first, I think we need to go back and revisit kind of what we look at as far as what wins you a round. Because if you win 4 minutes and 55 seconds of a round and then somebody just gets a knockdown and it wasn't a finish, it was a flash knockdown, it looked like a pretty great shot. But, I mean, he was scoring probably 2 times, if not more, than 2 times the amount of shots Aldo was landing in the first round. And just because he had one little hiccup right at the very end, he loses that round. I personally still had Rob Font winning that first round. And then I think the judges had it right when they were saying 49-46 for the most part. But it was a very close fight. Each fighter had minutes and segments of each round that they looked really good and they looked like they were, pulling away with it. But Jose Aldo proved that he is a true, complete mixed martial artist, literally one of the GOATs, one of the best fighters. Everybody, including Rob Font, looks up to Jose Aldo. And I'm sure it was an honor to share the octagon with Jose Aldo for Rob Font. But there's a lot of things he can fix about his game. I think his boxing is truly he's top 5 best boxers in all of the UFC.
Yeah.
I think Rob Font, his hands are ridiculous. But if he can mix in a little bit more mixed martial arts, it'll really help him, and it'll actually open up even more boxing for him, which will be very dangerous for his future opponents.
It certainly will. And it's funny because Rob Font almost had double the amount of significant strikes landed as Jose Aldo in this fight, which is for a 5-round fight to almost double up on your opponent with significant strikes and lose the fight says a lot about what your opponent did with the significant strikes that he landed, because I think there's no question Jose was the correct winner here, and every shot he landed had bad intentions on it. The knockdown in the first round, I do agree with you though. I think we do need to revisit what constitutes winning a round, and I think the only argument they could make for why Jose won that round is because he had Rob Font closer to being finished by the way of putting him on the mat, and Font was kind of covering up towards the end of that round. So if there was somebody who was closer to finishing the fight in that round, it was Jose. So maybe there's the argument there for giving the round to Jose. But what do you say about the other 4 minutes and 50 seconds where Jose was kind of on the defensive? It's a tough call. It's a very strange and difficult round to score. But Jose Aldo really found success in this fight when he stopped trying to box with Rob Font and started going in and pulling out all of the tools that he had, knocking Rob Font off his feet with calf kicks, working those. I think he's one of the best in the game at slipping a punch, getting in close range and returning with a devastating liver shot, body kicks on the, starting the combinations with his hands, finishing with a great body kick or a great leg kick. And then the fourth round when he was able to get that really rack up those minutes of ground control time. I think he had almost 9 or 10 minutes. Yeah. So basically almost 2 full rounds of ground control on Rob Font. But I do want to point out, though, speaking about the ground control, Rob Font did a great job of recovering guard and keeping that keeping that situation fluid and not just getting ground and pounded and finished or submitted, because Jose Aldo, make no mistake about it, is dangerous on the ground. And Font did a great job of keeping that exchange going and recovering his guard and making it difficult for Jose to really hurt him in advance when he had that ground control time.
Yeah, and Jose kind of showed us that he was looking to advance position as always, but in mixed martial arts, it can actually make it better for your ground and pound positioning to stay in a half guard position. Yeah. A lot of people prefer that because they've kind of got the body on its side a bit. They've got one leg trapped. I know their leg is trapped, but if your leg is trapped, then so is one of theirs. So they'll stay and hang out, and they can throw elbows there. It's kind of a good position to ground strike. And I think Jose Aldo was showing us that he either wanted to get to side control and then eventually get to mount, or jump straight from that half guard position into mount. And Rob Font was doing all the right things to try to prevent that from happening. He locked his legs up around him, was able to keep the guard closed for a while. And then when he felt like there was opportunities, he'd broken the posture down and had control of the head, which kept the distance away from any dangerous strikes for him. He began to put his feet on the hips of Jose Aldo and look to push away. Of course, it's never good to be on the bottom in a situation like that. But Rob Font did about as good as you can do when you've got a legend like Jose Aldo on top of you, a black belt, somebody who knows how to ground. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a black belt in ground and pound, a black belt everywhere, basically. Yeah. So Rob Font, did a really good job at basically defending and intelligently defending himself and keeping himself safe for as long as he needed to.
Yeah, I think so. And he did a really good job of scooping Jose's leg when Jose would get in half guard. Yeah. Sometimes Jose got a little lazy, just kind of leaving the lower half of his leg, the calf hanging out there. And Rob Font was able to scoop it up and return to half guard really quick and then try to get a full guard recovery, which he did end up getting a few times. I mean, really great performance by both guys. I'm deeply impressed by both of them, just a little bit more so by Jose Aldo because now he is in his mid-30s. He's arguably the best 145er of all time. I know there's some people like Volkanovski and Max Holloway that have a say in the matter, which makes things really interesting because now he wants to fight TJ Dillashaw, who is arguably the best bantamweight of all time. There's people like Dominic Cruz that could make a claim again, but you have two guys that are in the conversations for the GOAT in their respective weight classes. And it looks like we're probably going to get that fight because Peter Yan and Aljo have to handle their business at some point. I know it's turned into kind of like a joke. Aljo's like, oh, I'm out till 2025 now because my hand hurts. Like, it's funny. There's some parody there. But that fight is actually going to happen in 2022. Yeah. Or the UFC is just going to move on. But I think in the interim, they're going to put Jose Aldo versus TJ Dillashaw for a number one contenders fight. The odd man out being Sandhagen, but he just lost to Jan. So I think you're going to see these two legends square off, which for me as a fan is just incredible.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that. But if Aljo has to wait much longer, then they either need to let Peter Yan defend the interim title, which is something they've never done, or they need to strip Aljo and let him just sit in that number one spot and wait to fight Peter Yan or whoever he defends against next. And then I think because of the speed and the skills on the feet that we saw out of Rob Font and the speed and the skills that we see out of Corey Sandhagen in his last few fights, even though he didn't get his hand raised in either of them, I would love to see Corey Sandhagen and Rob Font fight each other, and that would probably be an awesome fight. You could headline it on a free night. That would be a lot of fun. Maybe at the end of the first quarter of next year, that would be a fun one I'd like to see. And then I would like to see Jose and TJ do it for basically legends status, and it would just be a fun fight, and also it would kill some time while we let everything settle at the top, very, very top of 135. And you only have these legends in the sport for so long, and it's like a living legend is almost like a unicorn. You don't see them that often, and especially you don't see them in title contention almost ever.
Right.
So TJ Dillashaw and Jose Aldo are both kind of defying all logic that we usually see. So let's get him in there right now. It's kind of like TJ Dillashaw, Uriah Faber. I really wish we would have seen that fight. I'm not saying there's no chance we'll ever see it, but at this point, I'm feeling like there's almost a better chance we'll see them fight 5 or 10 years from now in a boxing match or in some sort of a random one-off type of thing, or maybe a submission grappling type of event rather than a competitive match in the UFC, just because we've let time get away from us. But since we've got Jose Aldo, we've got TJ Dillashaw, they're right next to each other in the rankings, and they seem to both be available in the next coming months. Let's get these guys in there together. It'll be a great fight, and it'll also mean a lot for both guys.
Yeah, I love it. And rarely does a legends fight actually end up being a fight that matters with regards to the rankings and the belt. We have like sort of a legends league, if you will, going on in certain divisions where guys who are pushing 40 are fighting each other. Their paths should have crossed a decade ago, but they never did. And now they're fighting, but it's not for any real significance within the division. TJ Dillashaw and Jose Aldo is every bit the legends matchup that the longtime fan would crave to see. It just also so happens to be the number one contenders fight, which is a super rare thing in this sport.
Yeah, I'd love to see it happen. Hats off to both guys, though. They really brought it for the main event of a great free night of fights. And it was going to be hard to follow up Fiziev and Riddell, but I think these guys did it. And if they didn't earn the fight bonus, which I didn't check, they definitely deserved it.
No doubt. Well, guys, let us know in the comments, what did you think of the King of Rio's performance? He's not done yet. He's looking to grab one more belt before he sails off into the sunset. Guys, if you enjoyed the content, remember to smash that like button. It helps us out tremendously. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, we appreciate a subscribe. We always love chatting with you guys in the comments, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace.